We're turning our attention north, to Holyrood, where a number of MSPs have voiced serious concerns about what they perceive as the abandonment of the founding principles of the Parliament. That the Scottish Government is forcing through laws with a lack of proper scrutiny and debate, stifling Scottish democracy. Well, Murdo Fraser is Member of Parliament, member of the Scottish Parliament for Mid Scotland and Fife, one of those representatives calling for reform, and he joins me live this morning. Murdo, what's your issue?
I think there's a number of different issues that are coming together here in terms of the way that the Scottish Parliament is performing. And these concerns have been raised not just by Conservative colleagues of mine, but increasingly across the political spectrum, including by one very prominent former SNP cabinet member, Alec Neil. And I think you only have to look at some of the legislative output of the Scottish Parliament to see that we have a problem. There's not been sufficiently rigorous scrutiny of some of the legislation that Parliament has passed in recent years, which essentially has created bad law that then runs into challenges in the courts. So just to give a few brief examples, we had the Offensive Behaviour at Football Act, which tried to outlaw the singing of particular songs at football games. That faced legal challenges. It was ridiculed by the legal profession. And in due course, when the SNP lost their majority in the 2016 election, was repealed by Parliament because there was no longer a majority for it. We then saw the hate crime legislation, again, politically very controversial, with their ongoing legal concerns. And we just saw before Christmas the passing of the Gender Recognition Reform Act, which, whatever your views on the principle of self-ID for those who wish to change gender, created a huge debate about the fact that this legislation was being railroaded through Parliament on a very, very tight timetable, when there were very substantial legal issues which were not being properly addressed. And that's led to a situation now where the UK government is threatening to block this legislation because the Scottish Parliament didn't properly consider the interrelationship between changing gender rules in Scotland and the impact this might have on the Equality Act 2010, which is a UK piece of legislation that provides protection for biological sex as a protected characteristic. So, for example, would somebody in Scotland who has a gender recognition certificate saying they're a woman, if they cross the border and travel to England, how would that be recognised? And that hasn't been resolved. So we have a body of legislation that's been passed by Holyrood where there hasn't been a proper scrutiny and legal issues have not been properly addressed. And I think that points to a failure in terms of the processes at Holyrood that doesn't allow proper detailed debate.